We are going to be talking about Acumatica, Predictive Analytics, Artificial Intelligence, Shipping and Payments. So pleased to be joined by Ubics, Starship, and VIP Integrated Payments. Thank you all for joining us today. I know your time is hard to come by, and we sure appreciate you spending it with us. Thank you, Tony, VP of Product Development over at Ubics, for joining us and presenting the Predictive Analytics and Artificial Intelligence portion of today's webinar. Matt St. John, Sales Executive over at Starship. He'll be demonstrating Starship, Shipping Automation, and Acumatica, and VIP Integrated Payments. Maya Green, he's a partner over there, and Tom Nanchi will also be joining us over at VIP Integrated Payments. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the companies. Ubics is a data science platform designed to allow business users and subject matter experts to solve complex analytic problems without relying on data scientists. So it's really easy to manage artificial intelligence inside Acumatica, applying it to each user. So accounts receivable users can get the best answers to solve accounts receivable problems, while salespeople can get the best answers to answer sales problems in the Acumatica CRM. So all the different modules will be capable of understanding the data within Acumatica to provide answers to the individual users, so that all those users with their individual skill sets will contribute to the artificial intelligence inside Acumatica. So that's super cutting edge technology available now with the Ubics data science platform. So Tony's going to talk a little bit more about that. V Technologies is the company that develops Starship. They provide integrated multi-carrier shipping software that connects your warehouse to your front office. They partner with dozens of parcel and LTL carriers, including FedEx, USPS, UPS, OnTrack, LTL carriers like Holland, UPS, YRC, Old Dominion, Pitt, Ohio, dozens of regional carriers. And there's a very strong integration between those carrier interfaces within Starship for Acumatica, but not only Acumatica, they've been doing this for several years, decades, with Dynamics GP, the Sage ERPs, QuickBooks, SAP Business One, Epicor, SysPro, so more of the legacy systems. So their product is very mature, and they know the problems that shippers need to solve for. And so their product has evolved over time. They also have integrations with Amazon, eBay, Magento, Shopify, and WooCommerce. And VIP Integrated Payments is a leading provider of integrated payment technology for North American merchants. They have several different platforms that they offer, and based on the specific needs of the end user in Acumatica or any of those ERPs that I mentioned, they can understand what best solution to suggest to the end user to get the best rates on their credit card processing. So Maya and Tom are going to talk about that. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with Ubics. So I'm going to hand it off over to Tony. So Tony, thank you.
Hey, listen, everybody, good afternoon and welcome. Let me just say that on behalf of Ubics, we're thrilled and excited to be here today in partnership with ERPVAR.com, with V Technologies and VIP Integrated Payments to describe, how, you can combine new capabilities with Acumatica to unlock business value. So think of Ubics as an advanced analytics and data science platform. It's designed to help business users and domain users such as business analysts, financial analysts, demand planners, inventory analysts, solve analytic challenges that were never possible before, and to do that fast, reliably, and affordably. This is the next big wave in unlocking business value for mid-market organizations, really in all industries and all geographies. So, why is this important? Why now and why Ubics? The short answer is unprecedented volatility, uncertainty, and risk. In a world where demand for products is uncertain, supply is at risk, and input commodity prices are highly volatile, every company needs new analytic tools and disciplines to anticipate and shape business outcomes more effectively. And traditional ERP and reporting tools alone cannot address, these analytic opportunities, which exist from the front office to the back office, from customer analytics and demand forecasting to production and procurement. Ubics extends Acumatica to empower business users to address these high-value analytic challenges with data science and advanced analytics. We offer compelling pre-built analytic solutions from our solution library. We'll talk more about that in a moment, across a range of use cases to help you get started quickly, reliably, and affordably. Now, modern business systems like Acumatica are already providing flexible, on-demand digitization of core business operations, driving digital transformation. With the advent now of data science and advanced analytics, organizations can now analyze unprecedented volumes of data from disparate sources faster, continuously, and cost-effectively to drive new insights throughout the enterprise. We call this the era of the intelligent business, where intelligent processes and applications tap into both internal and external data to generate new insights and foresight that drive action for greater business impact. So Ubics helps you create this intelligent business by transforming the way you measure, you monitor, and you analyze operational and financial data to drive timely, more effective decision-making. Ubics helps you shift from the left side of the slide to the right side, from an over-reliance on human intuition in making decisions to driving new insights automatically from data to augment human judgment. So for example, if today you create demand forecasts using human judgment alone, then with Ubics, you can enable advanced algorithms to create more reliable demand forecasts based on historical data and external drivers such as perhaps weather or consumer price indices. And then you reconcile that human judgment with machine-generated forecasts. You make adjustments and submit the final forecast to the plan of record. Ubics helps you shift from an over-reliance on manual spreadsheets and traditional reporting tools to leverage modern cloud analytics and automation that includes, proven algorithms that operate on more granular data, for example, down to the SKU level, as well as external data to create new insights, inferences, and predictions that were simply not possible before. With Ubics, you shift from an over-reliance solely on historical internal data in making decisions to augment that historical data with external causal drivers. Perhaps it's retail foot traffic or social media data to create new insights that drive business impact. So again, Ubics is an advanced analytics platform. It manages the end-to-end data science lifecycle and bridges the gap between business users and data scientists. While other data science platforms focus on software developers and data scientists, Ubics focuses on domain experts such as business analysts, financial analysts, demand planners, inventory analysts, and more. We believe that until the domain expert is brought into the analytics process early, data science will not become abundant, reliable, and cost-effective. So with Ubics, companies can leverage Acumatica and existing infrastructure, combine both internal and external data to generate new insights. Specifically, our platform helps ingest and assemble that data. We enable business users to build analytic solutions that are put into production quickly, and these solutions then create new inferences and predictions and pass these to the appropriate end user applications. In this way, data science-enabled processes and applications can be built quickly, cost-effectively to deliver timely, reliable foresight and drive intelligent action. In effect, we're helping you become smarter without having to hire expensive, hard-to-find talent. Now, because Ubics is a general purpose platform, we address any number of data types and use cases from the front office to the back office. And here we list just a few examples. So in sales pipeline conversion modeling, we're able to analyze a company's sales pipeline. Perhaps that company uses a CRM or a Salesforce automation tool or simply spreadsheets to store these data. By looking at customer interactions and various attributes of sales opportunities, we can build models that predict the likelihood to convert a sales opportunity into a win or a loss or a no deal. These can help companies' sales and marketing organizations prioritize their actions to increase win ratio and optimize resources. In accounts receivable collection analytics, a company is able to model customer attributes such as payment history and firmographics to infer the likelihood that a customer who has missed a past due invoice will pay in the next period. By segmenting these customers, the accounts receivables team can optimize resources to improve collection and reduce collection costs. For instance, segment C is unlikely to pay. These can be sold to an outside collection agency. Segment B may pay. These are sent a phone call, and segment A is very likely to pay. These are sent emails. Demand forecasting here in the middle of the slide is the most basic of use cases for the majority of hard goods companies, whether a manufacturer or distributor or retailer. By analyzing order history as well as external factors, one can create more reliable demand forecasts by time period, by SKU, by channel. Imagine what a 30% improvement in forecast accuracy can do for a company in terms of reducing working capital requirements and safety stock levels. Commodity procurement analytics is about using internal procurement data combined with external commodity index data to create more reliable commodity price forecasts. And when combined with demand, then the ability to make better procurement recommendations. A 3 to 5% procurement savings drops right down to the bottom line. And then finally, asset monitoring and predictive maintenance, just as an example, is about monitoring sensor data on plant and perhaps warehouse equipment to detect anomalies, predict failures. This leads to improved asset uptime and availability in order to optimize facilities throughput. These are just a few examples of how data science and advanced analytics can help Acumatica customers unlock business value. Now, let me just share with you a real-world customer example. This is a $200 million a year meat processor based in the Midwest. They buy beef and pork and turkey proteins on the open market, and they convert that into various products for sale into two market segments. The first segment is the restaurant market, which has significantly declined during the pandemic. And the second segment is specialty food, retail, and distribution markets, which are seeing significant growth. New CFO was hired to the company 3 years ago to drive a digital transformation. He replaced their legacy ERP and then started to build out an analytic foundation using Snowflake as a data lake and Power BI as an analytic workbench. This is when we met the CFO, and he told us that the number one business challenge is coping with input commodity price volatility. His company's caught in the middle. On the one hand, they buy proteins on the open market. On the other hand, large retailers are putting pressure on price. And he was looking for a way to use analytics to help his procurement team make better buy decisions. And he recognized that his analytic foundation was missing a key part of his architecture, namely a data science platform, to combine both internal procurement data with third-party external commodity price index data, USDA data, to create models that forecast commodity prices going forward. The output of Ubics feeds both the ERP reporting module as well as Power BI as our analytic workbench. We're pursuing two use cases with this customer. The first use case creates a more reliable commodity price forecast engine using third-party data as well as historical internal procurement data. In the second use case, we tackle the demand forecast process, create a more reliable demand forecast, and then once we have quantity from the demand forecast and price from the price forecast, we can make a more reliable procurement, meaning quantity times price recommendation. And as you can see here, business value is significant with this company. A 3-cent savings per pound in procurement is worth $1 million in annual savings, procurement savings, which drops right down to the bottom line. Just underscores that the ROI of advanced analytics is substantial. And this use case illustrates the reason that data science and advanced analytics is so important, particularly in these turbulent times where volatility, uncertainty, and risk are increasing. Advanced analytics can unlock significant business value across a range of business challenges. At the heart of our strategy to deliver value quickly and affordably to mid-market companies is our solution library, illustrated here on this slide. Through our own efforts and those of our partners, we have access to hundreds of analytic solutions, pre-built solutions in a range of industries from retail and industrials to energy, financial services, and other services. Many of these were built and in production for over 20 years. If one of your use cases can be addressed by one of our models, then the implementation effort is low and the time to value is fast. This library of solutions allows you to accelerate your analytics journey and receive value at every step. For instance, you can start by creating a more reliable demand forecast and plan, then optimize global capacity plan to make sure there's enough capacity to meet that demand. On the plant floor, create more reliable production schedules, then address safety stock levels in the warehouse, address logistics in the total supply network, even tackle procurement as we talked about with that meat processor, and then if necessary and available, preventive maintenance of equipment on the shop floor. The opportunity to unlock business value is endless. Now, demand planning is a great place to start in all companies within the hard goods industry, such as manufacturing, distribution, retail, because human judgment alone cannot cope with volatility, uncertainty, and risk. The pandemic of 2020 underscores that. And traditional statistical forecast models, largely based on history, are inadequate handling fast-moving items, but don't really work well with any level of complex, volatile demand patterns. Demand is impacted by external drivers, such as weather, for example, foot traffic, local demographics, consumer tastes, and social media. Our solutions use data science to combine external and internal data. It avoids overfitting the data by minimizing or pruning out factors that have little to no demand impact. The solution can apply data science not only on a product store channel level, but also at different levels of aggregation with flexible groupings. The value opportunity is significant. Imagine the reductions in working capital requirements that are possible if a company can improve their forecast accuracy by 10 to 40% and increase inventory turns by 10 to 20%. In summary, we are convinced that the strategic application of advanced analytics can help you as an Acumatica customer gain greater speed, agility, and foresight in these turbulent times. Simply reach out to Miles Mahoney, our Chief Revenue Officer. He will help you understand the value opportunity of applying advanced analytics from the front office to the back office, from customer analytics to financial analytics, demand forecasting, inventory allocation, replenishment, procurement, and more. The opportunities are really endless. And so with that, I will hand the microphone back to Adrian, and we will answer any questions during the Q&A session. Adrian?
Thank you so much, Tony. And Matt will begin with automated shipping in Acumatica. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks everyone for taking time to join today's webinar. Apologize for the background noise. For some reason today they decided to replace catch basins on our street, so I will try to speak up and hopefully it's not too much of a nuisance. So with the technologies, I'm actually just going to jump right into a live demo. I'm not going to try to get too deep in the weeds, but of course, if anyone would like to schedule a follow-up call and we can do a deeper dive, more than happy to do that. And as Tony just mentioned, at the Q&A session towards the end, I'm also happy to answer questions. So on my screen now, hopefully everyone can see my screen. I am displaying the Starship program. So with Starship, as you see, this software is going to allow your shippers to actually process all your different type of shipments. So LTL, small parcel, international.
Matt, I hate to interrupt you.
Wrong screen?
Yes, we're seeing the wrong screen.
Okay, thank you. I thought so. Okay, that should be better. All right. So on this is the Starship program. And as I was just mentioning, it is multi-carrier, multi-mode. So as a shipper, I can actually just work inside Starship. Technically, I don't need to be inside Acumatica or push any data from the Acumatica software. But again, we can do LTL, international, blind dropship type shipments, third party or bill recipient, bill collect type shipments. And we'll go through that. But from this screen is where I can pull by a sales order number, shipment, or customer. Most of our clients, it is by a shipment, but if anyone did want to use a sales order, just know on the right back, Starship will actually automatically create the shipment record inside of Acumatica. This information up top can be barcoded. So if you happen to have a shipment or sales order number barcoded on your pick sheets or whatever you're shipping with, just know Starship does support plug and play type scanners, and that information could just be scanned right in. Starship would then automatically load that order. Or down below, as you see, I am displaying all the shipments that I have currently inside of Acumatica. So even though I'm not inside Acumatica, it is still a live connection. So as we're making changes or adding shipments in this case, Starship would be automatically picking those up. Now, if I wanted to manually look up orders, we could also apply filters. If I want to narrow that search result down, even any of these columns, you can sort by the column, drag and drop them, move them around, or even actually remove columns. So you can kind of set this up so the shipper sees what they need to see and even filter by what they want to filter by. But in this case, I'll just quickly grab a single order and I'll just grab an international shipment so you can see how that works. But really the workflow with Starship, it's going to be the same regardless of my type of shipment. Again, you know, an LTL, a drop ship, or whatever the case may be, this information is automatically going to flow from the Acumatica software. And we accomplish that by simply data mapping the fields. So we're basically just taking Starship fields, telling that Starship field, hey, look here inside of Acumatica, and we can point to standard Acumatica fields, custom fields, or even attribute fields. So we can really set this up because what we want to do is have this system set up so in your environment, the shipper doesn't have to click, type, touch a whole bunch of things. We want them to be able to bring this in. Less things they have to do, of course, the better. So Starship does fully support multiple companies, branches, warehouses, locations. So there's my source information. Here's my sender information. Again, that could be your company information, or we do fully support blind drop shipments where maybe you're doing shipments where you need to show like it's coming from someone else. Recipient information, of course, that's just a simple ship to. Starship will do address validation. It could automatically be set up to do that. And we could have a prompt pop up for the shipper where they're going to see, you know, hey, this address is invalid. You know, you should select this one. And that information would automatically be populated back here. You know, so we'd update this info, and then we can even take that and reverse translate that back onto the shipment record in Acumatica. Now, transportation information. This is going to be our carrier service. Oops, looks like, you know what? Bear with me one second. I have the wrong company here. My test accounts differ. So just by looking at your ship vias, that's going to select carrier service billing type information. So again, we could have this automatically set up where as a shipper, I don't have to worry about changing the billing type or even populate customers' account information. That all can automatically populate. And if anyone is doing third-party collect or type shipments, as you see, we will also validate that account number that is entered in the billing account field. So, you know, Starship's not going to allow you to send out a shipment with the incorrect billing account. That way, you know, normally what the carrier would do is charge you. Now, shipment details, wow, if I could talk today, is all our shipping options. So, of course, if I had insurance flagged inside Acumatica, it would come in flagged inside of Starship. Here, I can even set and have fields automatically just defaulted. So I'm telling Starship, yes, I want you to use the carrier email. I'm bringing in this one email address. Of course, we can bring in multiple. And then we can even set it up where, you know, I only want to use the carrier email if there's a delay or an exception. Because, of course, Acumatica has its own email program, but Starship also includes its own, where that's going to allow you to create your own custom email templates. Nice thing with that, have the email branded with your company information, not the carrier's. And of course, you'll see item box detail if you'd like, hyperlink tracking numbers, and I'll show you an example of one of those in a little bit. All right. Packaging is usually the main spot a shipper would go to, because in here is where I can actually add boxes. I could put items in boxes. If this was an LTL type shipment, I could even add pallets and do item to box pallet detail. My system, this Acer laptop, it's actually automatically been packaged for me. That is because Starship does fully support packaging scenarios. I say that, but it is only currently one item to one type of package or multiple versions of that package. Unfortunately, we can't do things like, oh, you know, Starship, a motherboard and a laptop fit in that Acer package. Kind of designed it for case packs because you can also set quantity breaks if needed. Now, a side note, if you are manually building the shipment details inside of Acumatica, that's how they'll flow into Starship. Or if you're using Acumatica's WMS, however you define those shipping details on the handheld device, same thing, that's how it's going to come into Acumatica. If you're not using that, a lot of our clients, or using a WMS, I should say, a lot of our clients prefer doing the item box detail inside of Starship. It is just simple drag and drop. So here, again, maybe that motherboard fits in the Acer box. I can simply drag it in there. If I need additional boxes, I can simply click this icon. This icon on each of the package levels is a repeat box function. So you can tell Starship, maybe I need 5 boxes. I can even copy the original weight. Once I click OK, Starship would, of course, add those additional boxes. Also, the item box detail is not a requirement. So if you do have a large order, some of our clients, hey, we might have 100 line items or 100 SKUs. I don't want my shipper to have to put items in each box. Starship's not going to yell at you and say, hey, there's no item in that box. Of course, we do need a wait to at least process that shipment. But again, it's not going to say, hey, there's no item, I can't process the shipment. So quantities, if again, WMS or doing this inside of Acumatica, that's automatically going to flow from the Acumatica system. Here, because I'm manually building this, I can actually change the quantities. We do have a security setting. So maybe inventory is off, I need to back order or something. Just know if I did back order an item, that's how it's going to write back into Acumatica. And then the actual weights here in my system, I am actually pulling those from inside of the Acumatica software. So I don't even have to worry about weighing things. But of course, we do integrate with scales, or I could also manually put in weights if I wanted to. Okay. Next door, the bill weight, that's dimensional weight. So dimensional weight is a big deal nowadays. Carriers are actually charging you by not the weight of the package, but the volume that basically it's taking up on the truck. So here we will always run the carrier's calculation that's selected above and populate the correct dimensional weight. And in this case, with this difference, Starship is rate shopping at the correct dimensional weight. And same thing when we click ship and process, it's going to go to the carrier at the correct dimensional weight. So if I was to send this one out, normally I would receive a bill from UPS later. Hey, you sent one box out at 5 pounds, dimensionally it's 19. Here's the difference. Okay. So again, that's just the item box detail, the packaging. We also can store your inventory items. And again, if you have some of this information living inside Acumatica, we can simply map it in, but we have our own database because we do integrate with a dozen other ERP systems, and a lot of them do not have the nice functionality and storage that Acumatica has. But if I'm doing LTL type shipments, I can store NMFC code, subcode, freight class. If you're shipping hazardous items, that could all be set up where, again, as a shipper, I don't have to worry about selecting a profile, and we can actually have all that required hazardous information set up, even tell Starship what type of documents to print. Okay, so let me just close this. And also in this database, we can store any of the required international data. So here's my country manufacturer, Schedule B, so on and so forth. We do fully support generating certificate of origin, shipper's letter of instructions, commercial invoices. If this was an LTL type shipment, of course, bill of lading forms, pallet labels. If you have EDI requirements, we can generate 128, the GS1 128 or UCC 128 labels as well. But really, we like to, again, set this system up. So as a shipper, I'm just basically bringing in a shipment or a sales order, and I don't have to worry about selecting Schedule B codes or populating freight classes. Again, that Starship can just use its own database to do that. And then finally, down below is the live rate shopping. So Starship does integrate with over 24 carriers, being LTL as well as small parcel. This is a live call. So when we rate shop, we are pinging the carrier returning published list rates. Contract is going to be your live negotiated rate. Applied in Starship terms is simply plus or minus any freight rules. So maybe you do things like, hey, free shipping over X amount of dollars. Or here I actually have a couple rules where I'm saying, yep, it's this certain customer, they receive a 10% discount. And then also I'm going all the way down to line item detail where, this item's fragile. We always end up using additional packaging material. So let's add a flat rate of $3 to help cover that additional packaging material. But apply charge is what we want to write back into Acumatica. So that's what you want to charge the customer. We can also do write back rules. For example, maybe we already charged the customer for shipping on our website. So with Starship, we can set up rules and tell it, in this scenario, do not write back the freight. Can also get into rate shop scenarios. So here I'm just displaying my parcel carriers. We can do switch rules, even conditional rules, where maybe, as you see, I want to find the cheapest ground option, or maybe, you know, the least expensive out of all the carriers, or fastest delivery. So Starship can even help automate the selection of the carrier service. But once I'm ready to process a shipment, I can click Ship and Process, or up top we have shortcut keys. We can use any of these drop downs, maybe even create a return label. But once we click Ship and Process in your live environment, Starship would immediately print out your shipping documents. I actually PDF everything so you can see them, so it does take a moment for Starship to pop all the different PDFs. And in this case, being an international, you're going to see Starship is going to generate my international documents as well. We also fully support, like with UPS, they have the paperless options where they'll deliver them. So we support things like that, you know, even different service options like FedEx One Rate, UPS, ground freight pricing, we support that as well. But here also, I do not have a thermal printer, so I'm just using our smart label, which will display the shipping label and packing list together. Again, this is just an option. Of course, we can send shipping labels to thermal printers. Now we can tell Starship where each document gets printed. Packing list, that could also go to a thermal printer. Of course, you can send it to a laser printer, or we can even save documents as a PDF, maybe to a network share if you need. And our documents can also be customized, and we allow for unlimited templates on each of the customizations. And on those custom documents, you can even assign printing rules. So maybe, you know, we're shipping for Home Depot. We have a lot of customers that do that. They have a special packing list with their logo, their information. I believe it even has a return section. So that could be set up inside Starship, and we simply tell Starship, hey, only generate this document if the order is for Home Depot. Okay. And then again, as I mentioned, international documents, so all that data would automatically populate. And if you wanted to, they could be customized. So here I have the signature and date. So as a shipper, I don't have to worry about populating any of that information or signing it. And same thing on this certificate of origin. Okay. So I'm just going to repeat myself. We click Ship and Process. Our documents print out. Starship automatically takes me back to the main Starship screen. And as a shipper, I just basically go and grab my next shipment, go through that process again, and I'll jump back into Acumatica and let me refresh this. So as soon as the shipper clicks Ship and Process, Starship, as you see, will mark the order or the shipment confirmed, and I'll drill down into it. So again, confirmed. On the shipping tab, there we're writing back freight cost and freight price, so we can send back your contract rate and of course what we want to charge the customer. And then on the packaging tab, in this case, I built the shipment inside Starship, but we still reverse translate box ID. Here's my tracking information. And of course, down below would be the items I put in each box with the quantities I'm shipping. Customer reference 1 and 2, that's really up to you if you want to send back additional information. I'm actually doing dimensional weight and the ETA, but we can also send additional information back to a note tab. So if there's anything else you want us to send back, we could also put that in a note. Okay. And then real quick, our dashboard program, this is also included with Starship. So this is really a reporting tool. I know, again, Acumatica does a great job with reporting and dashboard, but we do add this, and this can be accessed by as many employees that you like. It does not affect the user seat count for Starship. So if I want to see additional information, I can get in here. We do add a bunch of canned crystal reports, things like address deliveries or corrections, applied versus contract, make sure you're not losing money on your shipment, late deliveries, so on and so forth. And then this is that e-notify program that I was speaking of earlier. So here I'll just, let me go to my pending. And I just have this certain template. Again, has a my company information. We can bring in Acumatica fields like PO, sales order, maybe let them know it's coming UPS, how many packages, and the ETA that's coming from the carrier. And as I mentioned earlier, even the item box detail, hyperlink tracking number, so your customers can just click on it, go to the carrier's website. And with these, you can even do unlimited templates for the emails. Maybe you want to do a promotional code, hyperlink that, send the customers right back to your website. We can even do emailing rules. So maybe this template only goes to certain customers. And last but not least, real quick, I just want to show you, I showed you how we can do rate shopping at time of shipment, but also included with Starship, just like the dashboard program, this does not affect your Starship user seats, so anyone can access this. But inside sales order entry, we add this Starship button. From here, if I have a customer on the phone, I can quickly click this. It's going to scrape all the data from the sales order and populate this Starship rate quote screen. So I can't actually process a shipment, but I can do all the same features that a shipper could do. I can even do address validation ahead of time. Here's my packaging, and notice if I have packaging scenarios set up as a customer service or sales rep, I'd be able to see those. I even can see those freight rules, and then down below, I can do live rate shopping, see my different charges. We can even remove columns if you don't want your customer service rep to see contract charges, for example. But any of this information, if I bring this in as UPS and I decide, oh, maybe FedEx is less expensive, or the address gets changed due to validation, once those changes are made and I click apply, Starship would also reverse translate that data on the sales order record. So, the shipping, the ship via code would change. We change the ship to address. So again, that's really what I wanted to show you. Also a little bit with Starship, just know we do have two different versions. I am showing the on-prem. We also have I'm showing the cloud version. We also have an on-prem, really same look, feel, same functionality between the two. But of course, with the cloud version, it is SaaS-based pricing. So we do have different tiers based on your shipping volume. Nice thing with the cloud version and those different tiers, it does give you access to all of the carriers that Starship integrates with. Whereas as the on-prem, it's more of a one-time fee where you purchase each individual carrier, so more of a la carte. And we also do integrate with e-commerce sites like Amazon, eBay, WooCommerce, Shopify. But of course, a lot of our clients, they actually have that flow through Acumatica. But if you ever need to, just know Starship can, with that integration, also pass the shipping data up to, for example, an order on Shopify and update it with the tracking, and the order is complete. Right. But I thank you everyone for your time, and with that, I'm going to hand this over to Maya so we can discuss capturing payments for those orders that you've shipped out.
Thanks, Matt. Hi guys, my name is Maya Green. I'm the CEO of VIP Integrated Payments, and today we'll talk a little bit about options within Acumatica for integrated payments. I do apologize up front. I am just getting over COVID, so if you hear me mute it, I apologize. I'll be taking drinks and trying to keep everything in front of me. So let me get started here. So about us, we are a leading independent provider of integrated payment solutions. We work on a multi-platform model, meaning that you have more than one option for integrated payments, depending on what you need as a client. We do customize those. We do provide an end-to-end suite of payment solutions. We do work with a diversified network of partners, integrating the payments within Acumatica. We've been doing this for about 17 years now, developing partner relationships and relationships with end users. We definitely have become the industry experts when it comes to Acumatica, the pitfalls, and this is specific to payments. There are several things that come into play when you're adding an integrated payments provider, and there are a few pitfalls in there that you just kind of want to watch out for. We'll talk about those today. We do want to become your integrated payments consultant, the go-to integrated payments consultant. We do offer industry differentiating products, from the integrated terminals to e-commerce to you name it. We are ETA certified payments professionals. What that means is that we sign a code of conduct, kind of like a CPA, but for payments. And we strive to deliver the highest level of service and support. With that, we'll get started. We'll talk a little bit about early termination fees and long-term contracts. This is one of the pitfalls that you have to look for when you're doing or taking payments ACH or credit card. The main thing to look for is the term of the contract. How long am I in this contract, and what are the fine details that are there? A lot of times what you're falling into is a 3-year term agreement with a rolling term on the back end if you don't cancel before a certain time. Usually it's a 1-year renewing contract after the initial 3 years. Sometimes it's a 3-year agreement after the initial 3 years. So just be very careful, when you're picking a service provider, that they give you the terms and conditions and that you run through it with somebody that you know and trust. We're happy to, help you look through that and tell you if there's any gotchas in there. One thing that you want to be careful of is when you sign up for a payments contract, that you're waiving any rights to the operating account, meaning that the provider can actually take out money anytime they would like without you having any sort of recourse. Let's see, we'll move on to indemnification. So indemnification, what that is kind of like insurance for payments. So essentially what you're doing is when you're looking at a payments contract, you want to make sure that there is a mutual indemnification clause in there. It basically is kind of like your insurance policy, covering you and covering the service provider. If it's a one-sided indemnification in that contract, you definitely want to try to restructure, renegotiate that, or do not move forward with that provider. I'd be happy to walk you through any of that if you do have questions. Termination of an agreement. Really, when it comes right down to it, a lot of these contracts have what's called liquidated damages in them, meaning that if you sign up for a 3-year term agreement, knowing or not, if you decide that you want to leave before that 3-year term is up, you will owe the merchant service provider whatever you are making them times the remaining months on the contract. Some contracts even have additional items built into them, like travel or software costs if they've paid for you to upgrade or helped with any of that. Kind of leaves it open-ended. So just really be careful with the bits and pieces of the contract that you may not know about. Always ask for the terms and conditions. Exclusivity, if you see exclusivity in there, it's just another form of liquidated damages. It means that if you decide that you want to leave and say you do leave without letting them know, but you leave the account open, if your account volume drops to a certain amount, they can charge those liquidated damages. Whatever you were making them or whatever your company was making them times the remaining months on the contract. Just something to really be careful with when you're looking at merchant service providers. Liquidated damages, again, is a contractual provision requiring the party in breach to pay a predetermined amount. So as I've mentioned a couple times before, it's just whatever you're making them generally times the remaining months on the contract. It could be a huge amount of money. ERP clients are generally larger than most. They're doing a lot of volume. Therefore, the merchant service provider is making a decent amount of money on the account. So it's really very, very important that when you're picking a merchant service provider, that you have everything in front of you to make the best decision for you. That's kind of where we come in. We can help you with that. We can walk you through, the details of that contract. We can help you price the solution. We'll make sure that we save you money. And there are a lot of pieces in it, and we are looked at kind of as an extension of your business when you work with us. How to negotiate lower rates. Now, this is generally a big one for most people, and when it comes right down to it, you have a couple of really main points that you want to cover. One, know the average rates and fees of your industry, right? So based on what you do, kind of know the average of where you should be falling with your rates and fees. I always tell the clients not to provide the merchant statement up front until they get a written quote, just because you want to know what they're offering up front without them having all of the detail that they need to, basically make sure that they're beating the next guy. It's always good to provide one at the end of the day, just so they know what they're working with, but never provide it up front. Always require an annual rate review. If you're with a merchant service provider for any period of time, those rates and fees are enhanced. They generally call it enhancements. Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover do it twice a year in April and October, and generally that merchant service provider will add their additional fees as well. So always require an annual rate review. We will always do an annual rate review for our clients. Never ever accept tiered pricing. What that means is it takes any of your cards and it buckets it into 5 tier levels. So you never really know what you're paying to the merchant service provider and to Visa and MasterCard directly. Those are the 2 fees that you pay to run credit cards, or ACH, right? So you have the card associations that charge what's called interchange or the cost, and then you have the merchant service provider's fee, which is the only thing that you can negotiate. It's all on a level playing field. The actual fees, the interchange is the same for everybody. The larger banks get a bit smaller assessment fees when it comes right down to it. Not much, doesn't make any difference to you as a merchant, but that's the only difference. The rest of everything else is on a level playing field. The rates and fees that are given for interchange are exactly the same for the small houses as they are for the big ones. So, choose wisely when it comes right down to it, because the only thing that you can negotiate as a merchant is what you pay to the merchant service provider. And that's what we help with. Always request to work with a manager, not a commissioned employee. When you work with a commissioned employee, they're generally on a quota. They're generally trying to make their money, so they don't really have your best interest in mind. You can always hold their feet to the fire when you're talking to a manager, because they want your business and they have the ability to do things that the low totem pole guy doesn't, and it wastes a lot of time working with a commissioned employee. So always work with a manager or a VP of sales or something like that. Work with payments consultants that know your industry. As I said, we've done this for 17 years. We've been around, as long as Acumatica has, and we have worked with almost every single type of merchant, every type of scenario. So we do know the industry. We know, what it looks like based on, Acumatica clients, setups and things like that. So we can help there. Always work with somebody that knows your industry, and generally a consultant. Never ever lease equipment. We refer to it as fleecing because it's basically a ripoff. You can generally get terminals or equipment for a couple $100s. If you're leasing them over time, you're paying $800 or $1,000 more than the terminal's even worth. So never ever lease a terminal. Generally what happens is you're working with somebody that has no real value and is trying to make money somewhere that is not necessary. So free equipment generally equals a long-term contract too. So steer clear of that. Make sure you read the fine print. Generally, these terminals, if you are a terminal client, meaning you do retail sales, card present sales, generally they're like a computer. So they're obsolete after a couple of years. and you don't want to be tied into a contract with, an obsolete piece of equipment that you overpaid for. We can help you with that. Always look, when you're getting a quote from a merchant service provider, always look for the overstated savings, because a lot of times it really doesn't matter to clients as long as the savings is big, right? It gets them excited, so they kind of overlook some of the other stuff, and a lot of times the savings is grossly overstated. And so what I've seen a lot, especially with ERP clients, is the level 3 savings, level 2 and level 3, or what's referred to as interchange optimization. That savings is way overstated. So they're essentially saying that you are taking a lot of business to business cards, and almost all of the transactions in this slide would have qualified for level 2 and level 3 savings. If you look at it, 602 transactions qualified for level 3 savings out of 693. The best that you can hope for most of the time is maybe 40% of your transactions, and that's on the high side, being able to qualify for level 2 and level 3 savings. And that is if you do a lot of business to business, because there are only certain card types that qualify, and if your gateway provider does optimize interchange, right? So if they don't optimize interchange, you're not getting that anyway. If you're working with like an authorized.net, they do not optimize interchange. There are certain ones that don't, that kind of overstate that they do, and it's just something to kind of be wary of. We can help you with that. We can talk you through, your setup. Are they optimizing interchange? What does that look like? What does the savings look like for me? Because a lot of times you're just seeing the savings when you jump on board with these guys. Maybe there's some fine print, and when it comes out in the wash, you're not saving nearly what you expected to save, and then you're in a long-term contract that you can't get out of. So it's something that we're here to help you with. Even if you don't switch to us as merchant service providers, we're happy to help you with any of that. Just kind of guide you and show you where the savings truly is, if there is savings. Again, it's just something to be wary of. Work with a payments consultant. Consultants are a little bit different than payments guys. Usually they have the heart of a teacher, and that's kind of the way that we look at this. Is we want to teach you how to more efficiently operate your business when it comes to payments. We are a neutral party generally. We are going to tell you the benefits and the pitfalls of everything out there as far as we know it. We're going to find efficiencies and savings that others won't. Even if it's not beneficial to us, we are going to tell you, what we think is best, even if it's not a solution that we provide. We try to provide all the solutions out there that make sense for Acumatica clients. That's why we do the multiple platform model. We have multiple offerings when it comes to payment service providers and pricing options. And again, we do offer a lot of different options, whereas if you're working with most of these providers, they have one. It's their solution, so you're kind of stuck with what they've got. Support is the biggest part of our business. We are willing to support you regardless of if you're our client or not. If you have questions, if you have support issues that you're up against, if your provider's not helping you. Obviously, we want to earn your business, but we are going to help you regardless of if you go with us for payments or not. We always give you our direct contact information. This is my cell phone, Tom's cell phone, Mike's cell phone, our email addresses, and you are more than welcome to use it anytime you need to. We are 24/7. We are US based. And we, again, look at ourselves as an extension of your business. We're happy to help you. We're happy to help your clients. Just shoot us an email, give us a call, let us know what you need from us, and we're happy to help you out any way that we can. with that, I will turn it over to Adrian.
Here's the contact information. If you should have any questions directly, please reach out to the contact people on the screen here. Miles Mahoney for Ubics, Starship, Matt St. John, and Maya Green over at VIP Integrated Payments. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you spending your time with us, and we hope to see you on a future webinar. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.